No action.
Okay, very good. So I guess we're going to move to the consent agenda, and I guess I'll sit in her chair because I can't see who's signed up.
Mayor, I would move to approve. Support.
How's this thing work? There we go.
Nobody's signed up.
Nobody signed up. Okay, so Councilwoman Beltramini has made the motion, and Councilwoman Kerman has seconded it. I wanted to pull an item myself. I don't know if anybody else does. And I gotta
There are corrected minutes on the table, too.
corrected minutes on the table. F, I circled it. Bear with me. Here it is. F4e, I'm going to pull out F4e. I don't know if anybody else has any other items. Okay, so we've got a resolution to pass all items on the consent agenda except for item F4e. Question, please?
Councilmember Eisenbacher,
Yes.
Fleming,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Kerwin,
Yes.
Mayor Stone, Councilmember Beltramini,
Yes.
and Broomfield.
Yes.
All right, F4E is the Pathways Master Plan, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
And my concern with this was I wanted to hold off until we got a little further into the budgeting process, because I'm concerned about having a master plan and not being able to carry it out. That's really what my concern is. And so I wasn't, unfortunately, a lot of work has already been done on this, and I hate to actually kill it. I just want to hold off until we have a better idea of how we're going to actually fund this. That's where my concern is. I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts. I'm sorry.
It's coming as a part development capital account.
Who wants to speak on this?
Well, I looked at this as well, and it's my thought that this is coming out of this year's budget, and it is funded in this year's budget. And while I don't want to have a plan that does nothing sitting on the shelf, I believe that much of what is done along this line now and over the next 5 years will be in grant funding and the like. And we have over $1.5 million in the account saved to be leveraged through those grant funds, but we don't even have access to them without a master plan. So I'm afraid that without a master plan, everything just gets more expensive, and that money sits on the shelf and doesn't make near the interest that the expenses escalate by. So while I had second thoughts, I was like, well, the money's there this year, and there is some seed money. Let's see what we can get done by prioritizing the paths. And then,
Further discussion? Councilman Eisenbacher?
I also think that with the pathways, even if we had a slow implementation, it's possible to be implemented in a limited scope because of the fact that it's a wide open palette right now. And like our sidewalk gap fill in, a lot of the gaps we're filling in are small. A lot of the pieces to get a pathway going are potentially small. So even if we weren't able to take a huge chunk out of it every year, we can get pieces of it going, like the last plan we approved, preliminary plan that potentially has a path cutway.
And then, of course, we're all hopeful that someday soon, economic conditions are going to turn around where we'll be able to move forward with some of the things that we have tried to do. It doesn't mean we're going to not do anything at all. It just means that some of the things have been slowed down a bit with this economy, et cetera. And Councilman Fleming, do I see you saying one?
Yes, it's my understanding, am I correct, this is coming out of the Park Development Capital Account. It's allocated already.
Is that correct,
Capital
Mr.
account.
Nash?
Did I read that correctly?
Yes, that is correct. The funds are in place, and on some of our other grant projects, particularly the road projects, it has been very much to our advantage to have the plans on the shelf ready to go when the funding is available.
With that understanding, I can support it. That we've got a group of citizens doing a lot of work on this, and it doesn't mean we have to react to it right away, but having the plan in hand, I think, is a huge advantage, whatever leveraging we might be able to obtain in the future.
Mhm. Yes, because we don't know what specific, this is in one of the things that we may look at to get money, either grant money or stimulus money. It is for the environment as well as for the health and exercise of people. I think it's Councilwoman Broomfield next.
Yeah, a question for Ms. Anderson. I know you sit down, you're ready to get up. I guess the question I have is, given the economy and all of this, if a master plan is done like this and it sits on the shelf and it's ready to go when we're ready to go, and maybe we take it slower, maybe it's a foolish question, but I always say the foolish question is not asked. We should ask all questions. Does it ever get outdated? I mean, with the economy and our pulling back of development and the next few years probably kind of more maintaining and little to no development, and this thing's going to be sitting there.
Certainly there are some things that could evolve in the city that in terms of development and so on that would make it necessary to adjust the plan. But I believe that it is important to have a plan to start any implementation at all. I really, without getting the plan done, I do, and so maybe I'm speaking part before the horse kind of thing, but I think if we don't have a plan, we can't make any progress in this at all. And while the progress may be slower than we might have anticipated 5 or 6 years ago,
I think it is very likely that we can make some progress, although it might be small. Yes.
Thank you.
I thought it was my ears again, Mrs. Anderson. You know, I get the voices mixed up here sometimes because of the echo.
I talk often, just not loud.
Like wasn't on. Okay, Councilwoman Kerwin?
I echo my colleagues, particularly Councilmember Fleming, who really did point out how many people have become involved in this. I wanted to ask you, Mrs. Anderson, out of all of your committees, have you ever seen this kind of number or this kind of dedication planning from the private sector as you have on an initiative?
I have not been involved in any group whose passion and commitment has stayed as consistent over what is now 2 years. I think that along with all the other reports and indications that we have that this is something that's important in our community, I think that we all are looking for a plan and a hope and progress in this project. And I do think that while overall the project in its entirety is massive and is a probably 20-year project in good times, I think that there are pieces that can be done. Hopeful in the potential vendor is here, but I think that there are things that could be done in small pieces to make an effort and so that we all see some progress in this.
Thank you. The plan itself is a policy statement, isn't it, of where we would like to be in the future?
Yeah, the plan itself is not only a policy statement, but it will be, will have some definitive plans and routes and so on, and also the plan will allow us to check our progress. That's part of the bid specs or the proposals, is that there are some checks and balances, I guess you might say.
And I think it fits so well, we have our outcome statements, it fits so well with enhancing the health and safety of the community and then adding value, because we have found, and that was pointed out so well in the slide presentation by former council member Tom Koszewski the other night, on how it adds value to not only the properties, upgrades our infrastructure, but also our quality of life.
I think too, it is important to realize that this is not just a recreational plan, that this is moving people through the city in a way that is, I mean, we're hoping that this will allow people to be moved through the city without being in a car.
And this group, actually those that are involved in this committee is a spin-off from the Futures study groups, where we had very passionate people work on various aspects of the community together, and this was actually accomplishing something that was suggested at that point. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, along with the Parks and Rec Master Plan
Right.
Survey and
Yes.
lots of other places. I do think that there is an understanding by the Trails Committee and certainly by the staff in the Parks and Recreation Department and so on, that the capital funding is not going to be at a level that will allow us to do this in a very quick fashion. And I think that's okay. I mean, I wish it was faster, but the economy being what it is, that this is going to take a long time to achieve. But there are steps that can be done before it's completed.
What, is there a resolution on the floor for this? Was this some item that was exempted, or
Yes.
was it?
Yes.
Okay.
It's just, Madam,
Councilman Beltrame?
I would move to approve the contract for the Parks and Recreation Trails Plan as written.
Support. Support.
Moved by Councilwoman Beltrame, seconded by Councilwoman Kerwin, that we approve the resolution as printed. Discussion?
Mayor?
Further? Mayor Pro Tem Howard.
Yeah, I know I'm not going to score brownie points for this, but I really do have concerns because at this point with moving forward with this, only because we don't have a plan of how we're going to fund this. And trust me, there are a lot of good things that are in our budgets, but we don't have money for all of them. So the question that I have is this more important than, you know, X, Y, and Z? We haven't had that discussion yet. And yes, we have basically a reserve, but the question is, do we want to keep that there? We are just kind of fumbling through the upcoming budget year, and the one after that we know is going to be substantially worse. I am apprehensive about, because I've seen so many plans that have been drafted, approved, and put on shelves, and we even had the Civic Center Priority Task Force drop a plan, and everything that's happened on the Civic Center site, in particular with what's going on near Livernois Road, is very much in contradiction to that plan, and yet that task force has yet to be called back. I have concerns about that, and of course we can discuss that later, because I see. So, but I know for a fact that what has happened in the northeast corner of the Civic Center site is in contradiction of the plan that was adopted. And, you know, I know that in this city that if you draft a plan and it doesn't move forward quickly, you have the risk that somebody else is going to come along and tinker with it, and therefore your efforts and time and money have been wasted. That's why I'm not in favor of this resolution right now, unless somebody can say we are definitely going to fund this next year or the year after.
Mayor?
I need to ask Mrs. Anderson in regard to the Civic Center site. I remember there was like a picnic area that was asked for. Is that what you're speaking of, that area where they filled it and leveled it so they could? Mrs. Anderson?
I'm assuming you're talking about the enhanced gardens area, and the task force that was done for the Civic Center did have an enhanced gardens area. My recollection of the Civic Center task force plan was that although there were some things that were identified as possible locations, that there weren't any definitive locations for each of the items in the plan. So that
is, the enhanced gardens is actually a part of the plan. So unless I'm misunderstanding.
And Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman Kerwin?
to the issue before us, just another question. Without a master plan in place, we can attract no matching funds. Is that true?
I would not say that, I don't know all the funding possibilities out there, but certainly for the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund grants, we would have to have a plan and would have to have a match of some portion. There may be some grants out there that would be available without a match, but not without a plan. I don't know that anybody would give it.
Mayor,
Okay, yes, Councilwoman Broomfield?
piggyback that question. Do you have plans in place, not a master plan, but plans in place to go after those matching funds? I
We
mean,
have-
it's
we-
one thing to say we're putting the money in here, or we're making these master plans so that we can go get money. Do you have a comprehensive plan in place to go get that, or apply for those grants once you get this in place?
Yes, it would be our goal, once the plan is in place. Certainly the biggest pot for funding of this sort that I'm aware of is Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund grants. And those are typically on an April and August cycle, with August usually being acquisition only, I believe. So, April is the April 1st deadline. We would not make it for this year, of course, but yes, we would absolutely. That's the same funding source that we got nearly $500,000 for the Nature Center building.
So you've been through it before?
We have.
Okay.
That is not to guarantee anything. I
I
don't
know
want to
that.
guarantee anything, but certainly, and I do want to say that Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund requires a Parks and Rec master plan, which we have. However, this would be in addition to the the Parks and Rec master plan, although it wouldn't be a requirement. Certainly, they wouldn't fund anything without a plan.
Okay, all right, further discussion? I do think that I'd like to see us do the plan, just because I think it's in our future to have this, but I also would like to indicate that I agree that Reverend Tom Harnack has indicated, and I agree that when we have our discussions about prioritizing things, et cetera, and looking at budgetary constraints over the next few years, we're going to have to do some prioritization. So I think that's a good reminder of that to all of us. But I think having the plan does help us, so that if we're able to gain funds to do at least a portion, because we are always looking at the future, even though the future isn't coming as quick as we'd like it on some things. All right, so are you ready for a vote? Okay, Mrs. Plata, the vote on this item?
Councilmember Fleming,
Yes.
Howard,
No.
Kerwin,
Yes.
Mayor Schilling,
Yes.
Councilmember Beltramini,
Yes.
Broomfield,
Yes.
Eisenbecker,
Yes.
Motion passes. Were there